Hi folks, I'm the Bald Guy, and these are Bald Guy Basics. When I started making videos, one of the videos I enjoyed making are reviews, especially of my chainsaw products. I'm a typical homeowner. I cut firewood for myself. I have sold some firewood, but I'm not doing that presently, with the exception of little smoking wood. But over the years, as my budget has increased somewhat, I've got some bigger saws. But I'm a cheapskate at heart, and that means if I see a saw that is, say, a steel big saw between $1,700, $1,800, $2,000, and I see a Chinese clone for $375, guess what I'm going to do? Well, you may have seen I did a video review. I've done a couple of reviews on the Neotec 2500, a little top handle saw with a, I don't know, 12, 14-inch bar. But after dealing with the seller that I got that from, I contacted him again and said, look, I need a bigger saw. What do you recommend? And the seller said, look, I've got a Neotec 892 that is a customer return. They said they just didn't like it. It was too big. I'll give you the saw if you'll do a review. I said, okay, but I'll have to do my review. So they gave me the power head, and I bought a 28-inch bar. Note to self, I don't need 28-inch bar, but that's another issue altogether. I've had this saw for about 2 years now, and a couple of years ago I took it, and if I can find the video footage, I'll add it to this to show you how this saw performs when it's working. I cut a chestnut oak that was 27, 28 inches, so the full bar would go through it, but just barely. I made 5 or 6 cuts, and I looked down at the chain, and I noticed the chain was changing color. I knew exactly what that meant. The chain is overheating, and it's on me for having not verified that the chain was oiling the bar appropriately. It was not. So I take the saw apart, and I'm checking it. Not only was it not oiling appropriately, it was not oiling at all. So I contacted my seller, and they said, we've had that problem with the oil pump, and we have an order for oil pumps from China, and we'll send you one when they ever come in. Well, they've never come in. They've either never come in or they just forgot about it. So I never got one. So I went to my steel dealer. The 892 is a clone of the steel ns892V or the even older 066, one or the other. And my chainsaw mechanic said that part would cost me $100. I decided not to do that on a free saw. I went on eBay, found an aftermarket Chinese oil pump, $15, including delivery. It comes to the house. I had to watch a video because I'd never changed an oil pump before. Put the thing back together, fired her up, and she worked like a top. This saw fired when I originally got it on the second pull with a new tank of gas. I was very pleased. I know how much power it had when I cut that chestnut oak before I realized it wasn't oiling. Very pleased again. It's heavy, it's big, and for a homeowner's use, I don't need a 28-inch saw. That's where I am at life. There's no shame in that. Any video producer who tells you that your manhood is somehow connected to the size of your chainsaw is woefully immature, but that's a whole nother issue. So when I got the oil pump, probably sometime last December or this January, it's October now, by the way. It's a cool morning. It's just below 50 degrees, 48, 49 degrees. I said, well, I'm going to come out and crank the saw. I tried earlier this week, and the saw didn't crank. And I said, well, it set a little while. So I popped the cover off, gave it a little squirt of starting fluid. She fired up and ran 2.5 seconds and went dead, and it will not fire at all. So here is my review. I am very thankful to the Neotec eBay seller for giving me this opportunity. I like the saw. This saw, plus or minus, is in the $400 range for the power head. I got the bar and chain combo again a couple of years ago for maybe $79.95, something like that. So it's a very great advantage financially to have this saw over a steel, for example. That steel bar and chain would have cost you a lot more. But the saw fails in one regard. There are a lot of other comparisons I could make. The saw doesn't feel quite as well made as a steel. I don't expect it to. A $400 saw as opposed to a $2,000 saw, I'll take a little bit of cheapness. I know on the throttle handle here, it feels a little stiff. It's not as smooth as the steel, but it works. It binds a little bit. I wonder over the years if it would have eventually stressed the plastic until it cracked or broke. I'll never know. The saw ran, it performed, it had plenty of power. I make no assertion that this saw has as much power as the comparable steel. But I've seen video producers who would they'd run a steel and then they'd run the Chinese clone and say, well, the steel was 2 inches faster in a piece of wood that was huge. 2 inches is irrelevant to me when I can say $1,500. But the greatest ability for anything or anyone is availability. This saw for me failed in the realm of availability. It would not operate when I got it because of the oil pump. I fixed that. Now I'm assuming that I have problems with a poor quality carburetor. I could go online and buy an aftermarket carburetor. If I do that at some point, I'll give you another review. But out of the box, the Neotec 892 for me is a saw that should run, but I don't think that they put appropriate quality controls into these saws for it to run year after year. Now, when I compare a saw, I don't care if it's a little slower. I don't care if the horsepower is a little bit, they fudged a little bit and overestimated. I don't mind that. Again, I'm after economy. But down here in my shed, I have my first steel that I bought back in the 90s. It is now 2025. And I bought it in the early mid-90s, so 93, 94, 95. So we're over 30 years with the saw, and I bought the saw used. And I have let that saw go at times 2 and 3 years. I would move, wasn't burning wood, 2 or 3 years without pulling the chain the first time. And I go down there and I've even, with the old gas still in it, the thing fired right up. Availability is a metric that cannot be circumvented in any way, shape, form, or fashion. When this is my wood truck that we're sitting on the tailgate here. When I get ready to go cut wood in the morning, I'm going to grab a saw and throw it in the back floorboard. Well, 2 saws. This saw is not one that I would take with me because I can't depend on it. It's the Neotec 892V. It's a full wrap saw. I like they've got 2 sizes of pull handle, and I just switched this one out. The large pull handle is really neat if you're cutting in wintertime and you've got gloves on and your hand will go right in the thing. The safety chain brake works wonderfully. This saw comes with a decomp. It makes it easier to start this thing, but I just can't depend on it. And when I've got other saws that I can depend on, I just don't see the point. So for me, as grateful as I am for this opportunity, this saw just is not reliable enough for me to use. As I told you before, if I can find the video of sawing that chestnut oak, I'll be glad to post it in and say, look, this saw has plenty of power and plenty of reach. The saw is reported to be able to handle up to a 36-inch bar. One of the other saws I have is the Farm Mac 380, which is a copy of the Steel 038. I have a 25-inch bar on it, and just for comparison this morning when this one failed me, I said, well, I need to make a video because I'm through messing with this saw. The Farm Mac, using the same gas, and it has set the same amount of time as this saw has. I went down this morning, haven't used it in months, pulled it 5 times on choke and it started. And that's comparable to most of my steels. Most of them, when they're cold and haven't been used in a few days, 5 pulls and they'll start right up. So I was very pleased with that. Fired right up, ran it long enough, you know, to warm it up and for it to idle down. No problems at all. This saw won't do that. So I will go to the woods with the Farm Mac. I will not take the Neotec 892. The Neotec 2500, very pleased with. I just think that in making this, that they've cut some corners quality-wise. with those detail parts. And I've seen some other videos that mentioned carburation issues, and a lot of people had issues with this oil pump. So that's I would like to recommend this saw to you, and I had every intention when I went out earlier this week. It's getting cool enough to start sawing again, and I've got some big trees to saw, and I said, good, I can drop that tree and show how much power this saw has and how much you can say. And the saw just failed me, and that's the reason I cannot recommend this particular saw. Don't judge all Neotecs by this particular one. I just think they needed to work a little more. Remember now, this saw is a couple of years old, and it's also a customer return saw. If you're looking at Neotec, I had good luck with the other saws with one little minor adjustment. I had to do one little bit of maintenance on one saw, that 2500, but it was a simple fix, and the saw has not failed me since. I've used it in hot weather and cold. So do your research, check the reviews, and remember, when you're looking at reviews, more people will complain than will compliment. So when you're looking at complaints, don't just say, well, gee, there are 28 complaints here. That's not what I go by. Look for people who complain about the same thing. If one person complains about customer service, and another person complains about the quality of the chain, and another person complains about the feel of the saw, and one person complains about a component, that doesn't bother me. But when 20 people complain about an oil pump, you realize there's a systemic problem here. And I don't know how many complaints have been on the carburetor, but I'm not going to sink big money. I'll find I'll find a young kid who likes to work on stuff, and you know, maybe getting started in small engine, and you know, he's not going to charge me an arm and leg. I'll let him fiddle with it. But that Farmac 380 will handle this 28-inch bar. The bar will interchange, same sprocket. The Farmac is also made by Neotec, but it is their next level up, they say, in quality. Time will tell, but I've been very pleased, and I cut some big stuff, and I've done a video review of that saw, and I will carry, like I say, I'll carry it to the woods where I won't carry this one. So hope you'll leave us a like, hope you'll subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'm the Bald Guy saying have a good day.